That's what he did. He came after Jesus. So he's coming after us. And people will attack you because somebody came after you. Somebody tried to hurt you. Somebody tried to harm you. We shouldn't do that to one another. Life is too hard already. If he came after the Son of God, I don't need you piling on, adding more grief to me, adding more trials and tribulation to my life. Because the devil is already doing enough to me without you helping him by saying, yeah, if you'd have been so smart, if you were so holy, if you were so good, if you were so righteous, God has to help us all. And we ought to help each other as well. Don't lay more on a person than they can bear. The devil, he can almost break us sometimes. And what he needs sometime to break us is a few of these people who claim to love us to join his band, to pile on with him. What happened with Job, for instance? Job held on to his integrity. God said there's none like him in the earth. And what did he do? Took away his children, his cattle, and all those things. Yet Job held on to his integrity. Finally, when the devil came after him the second time, the devil told God, he said, well, skin for skin, a man will get anything in exchange for his life. God said, well, you can try him again. Say, but just leave him alive. You can do everything but take his life. And after he came after Job the second time, he smote him with boils from the crown of his head even to the soles of his feet. This man was suffering immensely. He was really going through it. And after the devil got through, Job said, naked I came into this world, naked I shall return. Blessed be the name of the Lord. But his wife said unto him, wilt thou still hold to thine integrity? Why don't you curse God and die? Well, that was almost enough to make him give up, but he didn't give up. Then his three good friends came to see him, when they had heard of all this calamity that happened to Job, they came to see him. And he was in such bad shape, they saw him for 7 days. They could not recognize him at first. And then when they saw him, they sat with him in sackcloth and ashes for 7 days, couldn't say a word. And so Job was in such distress after this, he cursed the day he was born because he had done suffered so much anguish, so much turmoil, so much pain. He just couldn't endure it any longer. And he cursed the day he was born, but he didn't curse God. Those friends talked to him and said, well, you must have done something. Yeah, this never happened before to anybody unless they was guilty of something. But Job continued to hold his integrity. He disputed for them for a long time and kept on disputing and kept on disputing with them. Till finally he wore them out. They said, well, you, Job, you righteous in your eyes. We can't change. You're going to just do what you want to do. You're going to believe what you want to do. That's right. You better believe what you want to believe when you're holding on to God. You better hold on for dear life. Don't you ever doubt and question God. That's what Job did. He kept holding on to God regardless. And God rewarded him for holding on. He held on. He held on. Till finally, those three friends, they gave up talking to him. Then the young man who was with him, Elihu, decided to speak. He said, well, he found fault with Job and he found fault with his three friends. He said, for y'all have accused Job and you've not shown him the reason why. You haven't given him no answer. And he found fault with Job. He said, because you have chosen to justify yourself rather than justify God. You don't get to lay fault or blame to God for anything he does. God is just and righteous all by himself, and we have no right to question or blame him for anything. And so then he began to tell him, he said, let me show you my opinion of the matter. He said, it is God has cast Job down, not man. Job is not in this state because of any sin or anything he did wrong. He's in this state because God allowed this to happen to him. And after Elihu finished all his talking, then he said, well, I'm not yet even spoken for the Lord. And then finally, at the end, God began to speak to Job out of the whirlwind. And when God began to speak to Job, Job said, I'll pour myself, I'll repent in sackcloth and ashes. We don't have the right to question or challenge God, but I'm saying to you today, don't help the devil when someone's being persecuted. Don't help the devil when someone's suffering and going through. Don't blame and attach blame to them when they did nothing wrong. Just because the devil come along and tempted them doesn't mean they're guilty. Don't attach guilt to someone who's innocent. If you do that, you have defiled yourself because you have thought evil of someone that God did not put evil in. They have no evil in their intentions, in their heart, toward anyone or anything. Don't attribute evil to someone who doesn't have evil in their heart. For God knows the righteous. And we are oftentimes unrighteous in our judgment of others. Don't do that. Don't accuse people. Leave space for God to judge. Don't become a judge. That's why we say a lot of times, judge not be judged. I don't have a problem with someone judging or examining me. But if you see something wrong with me, tell me first. Don't go off and say, well, he's guilty of this or he did this or that. Don't say he ain't so wonderful because he did this or that. Tell me what it is you see that's wrong with me. Give me a chance to get it right. I want to get anything that's